Ball exercises. We're going to take a look at some different ways you can incorporate the ball into your exercises in your circuit. Starting in our first progression, seated. So seated, we can take the ball, you can place it in between your thighs, and then you can do just a gentle squeeze together. So adduction, working the inner thighs. Very, very important anytime we're doing any kind of squeezing movements, the tendency is for your students to hold their breath. So we want to promote fluid breath, especially with these ball exercises. So we have the inner thighs, hands can be on the hips, they could be on the chair. They're just simply going to squeeze and relax. Squeeze and relax. You may even want to cue exhaling and inhaling if it helps to cue the breath. I'll do that one more time. Squeezing and relaxing. Now we can do the same thing. We can take it up between the forearms for the upper body, and we can squeeze the arms together and relax. Squeeze and relax. Cueing the breathing, cueing the breathing, exhaling and inhaling. I'll do that 2 more times. Just a little squeeze. And 1 more time. There's some wonderful abdominal activation and core activation exercises we can do with this ball too. So bringing the legs a little closer together, having the ball on your thighs, the middle of your thighs, taking the palms, placing them together, having your students take a big breath in, and then exhale and just push the ball down into their laps, and then release. Taking a big breath in, exhaling, having your students just push that ball down gently. And you'll notice I'm not doing this, right? Chest up, pushing down, and relaxing. Big breath in, exhale. You can use blowing out of that straw, and release. And we can change this up a little by taking the legs wider, taking the ball on the thigh, turning that shoulder, so we're getting a little rotation in, so we're moving a little more into the obliques, and those are the muscles that wrap around like a corset. Palm over palm, taking a big breath in, exhaling and pushing down. Big breath in, exhaling and pushing down. We're going to try that on the other side too. This is an excellent awareness, because the second your students take that big breath in and they exhale and push down, they're going to feel the muscles we're trying to get them to work. We'll do that one more time. Big breath in, exhale, and press down. Now you can also add in some fun exercises. So you have your leg extension. Your students are holding on where they lengthen their leg and lower it. They've gotten pretty good at this. So maybe they hold the ball, and as they lengthen their leg, they reach a little bit to the front, and then they come down. So we have opposite arm and opposite leg. Remember, if they lose their ball, tell them at the beginning, it's okay if you lose your ball. You just have to get up, go get it, sit back down, or as their instructor, if you know they need to stay in the chair, you go get it for them. Extra exercise. We can try that on the opposite side. So they're balancing the ball in their hand. They're going to do that leg extension first. They're going to add in the opposite arm, reaching up, and maybe it's a smaller range of motion, right? Maybe it's small. Then from here, we're going to go ahead and look at our sit to stands. So your students are confident and strong with their sit to stands. So we're going to hold the ball at chest level, and this is going to help because one tendency is as your students come up is their chest collapses down. So cue your students to keep the ball at chest level and to keep the ball up at all times. So we're just going to stand up, and then we're going to sit down. Again, with the ball at chest level, if you find that the ball's going to the ground, It's a really good corrective way to teach them to keep their chest lifted and spine long. Now we can start integrating this so they're good at their sit to stands. Now they could stand up, they could put something up in the cupboard and sit down. Stand up, put something into the cupboard and sit down. And maybe we want to spice it up a little and we can add in a little hand volley. So we're taking it side to side. We're going to hold it still, stand up, put something up, sit down, into a hand volley. So starting to integrate those exercises. Now coming up, we're going to look at some standing options. If your students are still at the point where they need light support for standing, it's best to just work with their body weight. So we want to make sure our students are able to freely stand and perform all the exercises with their body weight very, very strongly before we add the ball in. So we're going to look, we will use the chair if it's there. If you've got it, you might as well use it for some light support, at adding a little resistance to our abduction. And abduction is when the leg comes out to the side. So what you can do is take the ball on your thigh, and we can have a light hold on that chair if it's there. If not, you can just balance. And as your student lifts the leg, they're going to resist themselves. So they're actually going to push their hand towards their thigh. So it's going to lift up, they're going to push down, and release. So they're not helping themselves here, are they? Right? They're lifting up, pushing, and releasing. And I've got to tell you, that stabilizing leg, it's getting a lot of work. So the non-moving leg is fired up as well. So this is an advanced exercise for your high-level experience or your Excel students. Now moving into freestanding. So your students, they own the squat, the lunge. The ball can add a little variety. So we have freestanding squat, adding in a press, and that's a smaller range of motion. So you could progress that to a bigger range of motion. So maybe coming here, keeping the chest up, making an arc down. Again, if you see their chest go down to the ground right there, it's an indicator. Leave it right here. We could also squat and add in a V-raise. So you squat, you're going to have your students pivot, bring it up, and come center. Squat. Remember, we're going to pivot, unload the knee and the hip, reach it up, and come center. So this is our smaller range of motion right here. We can make it a little bigger. So if they can keep their chest up, we can arc it, take the hands out a little bit further from the body, which is going to make it more challenging, especially for the core. Remember, they have to have great form to do these advanced exercises. And then coming back center. Now we're going to look at the lunge and how we can incorporate the ball into the lunge. So your students have mastered lunging in multiple directions. So what you can do is you can simply use the ball. They're going to lunge forward and pretend like they're going to pick something up. So I'm going to weight shift forward and bring it in. Right now I have a small range of motion lunge. You can definitely deepen it if your students are ready. So we can come to the front. We can also take it lateral. So I'm going to step a little forward because I have my demo chair out. Your students, Excel level, they will not have a chair. Make sure that they have a clear floor. So first, they're good. Add a lateral lunge. We can add in a little picking it up, right? So we have a long leg coming in. We could take this behind the body too. So they lunge back and reach forward. It's adding a little more integration, a little more combined movement. And then when your students advance, they're really good in all directions, you could do one in each direction. So we could come forward, to the side, back, and then maybe you add in a figure 8. Combined exercises. Forward, side, back, into a figure 8. One more advanced option with the lunge is your students are skilled and they have alternating backward lunge down. So they own this movement. Great form, nice and stable. We can add in a rotation with that. So they lunge back. We're going to have them rotate outside of that front leg and then come in. Lunge, rotate outside of that front bent leg and come in. Lunge, rotate, and come back in. So think of how much stabilization is needed right there. So that's for your Excel level, your older adult athletes. And these movements also really help mimic a lot of the things we do in daily life or maybe the sports that they continue to play. So that is exercises with the ball.